Steve Sarkisian sat down with Colt McCoy. Great interview. Went for about, I want to say, 35-plus minutes. A lot of good stuff. But they spent a little bit of time talking about Arch Manning and him being ready to play in 2025. And I think the way that Steve Sarkisian talked about Arch Manning is really, really interesting. Because right now in modern college football, with how visible, quite frankly, college football head coaches are and quarterbacks are, you see a lot of coaches, before a quarterback gets to play, almost shield them a little bit, almost protect them with the media and try and temper expectations. Steve Sarkisian did none of that with Colt McCoy. In fact, he listed out reasons as to why he is ready to play. He says, yeah, well, he got to play in a bunch of games last year, one of them being an SEC game against Mississippi State. That counted a lot for us in the context of us trying to go win the SEC. Like, yeah, he's played now, not a half-baked product. Something we said before. The hype around Arch is nuts, but this is Steve Sarkisian verifying to all of us, once again, no, hype is crazy. Expectations, though, you can have those. Why? Because he's waited his turn. He's played college football. He's ready to take over the reins here, and that's the reason why, because he's played a lot of ball. Other part of this, the legitimate athleticism for Arch Manning is kind of an X factor of sorts, and it might just be because the last name is Manning. We're just assuming he's not going to – I think when he got to Texas, we all just assumed he was in the same vein of a Peyton or an Eli, or, just, hey, drop back pass or deliver the football, good for him. What he can do with his legs is another weapon in the bag for Steve Sarkisian. Steve Sarkisian, as an offensive play caller, the more you give him to work with, the worse it is for your defense. When was the last time that Sark had a guy like Arch playing quarterback? Like Cato called back to Jake Locker? That might be the guy, legitimately. And I think even Arch, with what he has athletically, I don't know the exact measurables between him and Jake Locker. I'd probably lean Arch Manning. He's watching the two run the football, seeing what he has when it comes to the Jets. So that's massive, but the reason why it's massive, and Sark hit on this too, the way that's going to open up the deep passing game for Texas. Like Texas, I mean, every year they've had Sark as their head coach. Every year Sark's been a head coach in college football. He's had a 1,000-yard rusher. So you have a 1,000-yard rusher, more or less, you would assume in the backfield. Don't know who it's going to be. And then you pair that with a quarterback who can get up and go for you. And then you also pair in the idea that as a play caller, you're probably going to be able to open up some shots downfield. And then Sark speaks to what Arch is, a downfield thrower of the football. All those things fit together to where I'm like, okay, hey, I think he's kind of saying they have some more levels to this offense that he can call from a play caller's perspective. Not saying it's going to end up being another touchdown or two a game averaged by the Texas offense, but I do think he's telling us, hey, there's extra levels, extra gears I can add here because of what Arch Manning is with the football in his hands on the move and potentially as a runner. So all that factors in, and I think that's huge, especially because of what you don't have at receiver. And I want to be careful how I say this. Texas, I think, is in a really good spot at receiver. If you're a Texas fan, you don't have the same known commodities, whether it be from the portal or already in-house, that you had maybe coming into the last couple of seasons. I mean, 2 years ago, you have Xavier Worthy, you have Adonai Mitchell. Okay, great. Awesome. Going into last year, you have Isaiah Bond, you went and got Matthew Golden, who was great, you went and got Silas Bolden. Like, okay, it went how it went. You don't really have as much portal activity from Texas. Not to say they don't have the talent, but I do think now, if you have a quarterback that can force the defense to stack the box a little more, create more real estate downfield, that's a good thing. That's a very, very good thing to go with, again, one of the best offensive minds in the sport who's dialing it up for you. Now, the last thing that Sark said about Arch, which I think is interesting, he spoke to essentially the it factor that Arch Manning has, and I don't know that anybody was questioning that, but the way that he spoke to it, saying essentially it elevates the rest of the talent around him. People play better because they play with Arch Manning. Same thing I just said. You lose a lot of production on offense if you're Texas. Not saying that you can't still have top-tier production in 2025, but you do have a lot of new faces. And so to have a dude at quarterback that people believe in, that Sark believes in, that's going to elevate everyone else, it's a go-get-it kind of year for Texas, man. It really is. I mean, you made the semis the last couple of seasons. There's no dropping of expectations from a fan base level. And because of Arch at quarterback and because of the guys that have waited their turn to play for this offense, I don't think there's a dropping of expectations for them in that building either. So to hear that he's believed in, to hear that he's got that extra juice, again, if we were unsure about Arch Manning from a Texas side, we would be doing everything in our power to try and turn down the volume, protect the narrative, all those things. None of that's happening here from anyone in the public. It's not happening from Sark, who is as in the know as anyone else when it comes to Texas football. So Arch Manning, for all those reasons, had experience, athleticism, it factor. Texas football is going to be once again a force here in 2025, and Arch will be a massive part of it. Hype, unrealistic expectations, though, those are verifiable and those are real based on what Steve Sarkisian is saying.